Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's been like 6 months. I have not had materials to make anything and just like no motivation to make it anyway. But we're back and making an entire Spider-Man suit. So this video is just gonna be on like how to make the pattern making. Basically, it's just gonna be an entire like voiceover thing. Over the time lapse, just me explaining everything about the pattern in relative detail. Relative detail. It's not gonna go incredibly insanely detailed, but it's gonna be relatively well. And yeah, I've sewn up the entire suit now at this point, but I have footage for it. I just need to record more like clips of it. So yeah, let's just get straight into it. So here I'm just putting paper on some pants to just map out the pants because it's the easiest to pattern, and you just need one side of that so you can flip it over. And then I'm just gonna get a shirt that fits tightly, and I'm using my old suit to just measure out exactly like where the pattern spots are supposed to go. But here I'm just looking at a pattern online to just sort of figure out exactly where the stuff has to go. And so I just know exactly where the red goes, the blue goes, where the web lines are supposed to be, so I can hide those in seams and things like that. But really it's just mapping out a like a shirt and then drawing on a neck and cutting off the little edge. And what I thought was really cool is I'm using a comic book and another one of my old suits as reference, and then I'm just tracing out that little neck spot, cutting that out, and then just looking at pictures and just really trying to figure out exactly how I'm going to make this seam meet up, which it's a really simple seam, and I had on all of my clothes. Literally the hoodie I was wearing had the seam, so I could have traced that, but I didn't. Decided to figure it out. Basically I made the arm, and then I made the neck piece, and then I just filled in the blank with paper. And then I cut out the neck piece from the arm. So basically, it ended up working that way. And then I started drawing on some web lines here. And I'm still trying to figure it out. Just looking at it, trying to figure it out. It's not making any sense. I'm eating some crackers. And then, yeah, I keep looking at it. Just don't understand how that's going to work. And then I finally just, like, start drawing web lines on it. Not web lines, but, like, seam lines. And I finally decide, okay, we're just going to fill in the blanks here. No, this is part of the arm, so I'm just doing the arm, completing the arm because it has to be a two-piece part. So then I like tape another exact tracing of it onto itself, I guess. Yeah, so then I can just go ahead and get the mirror image of that. And yeah, now I decide, let's just fill in the blank here. And yeah, basically that's what happened. So now I'm using a mirror, and you can't really see here in the frame, but you're gonna want to put that shirt piece up to your body, and then just be looking at some reference pictures here. I'm using my old suit just to get those like lines, and to just get the line that comes down from the chest down into the ab area. And then so you can draw that straight line down and then have the belt part come up. And you see I did that there, and I cut that out and then just symmetrically traced it there. And it's going to take some trial and error to get the right thing going, but yeah, it's not difficult to just take some trial and error to make sure that you get that right. And then yeah, here I'm just drawing it on, making sure that I'm getting it right, and then cutting it out, and then cutting it out from the other side, that little blue spot. And yeah, so just folding it together, making sure that you're getting that correct seam allowance and all that. So here I finally decide, okay, I'm just going to fill in the blank. And it did end up working perfectly. So what you're going to do is just make that chest piece, make the arm piece extra long, and then put it under the chest piece and basically trace it out and fill in the blank like I did here. And that ended up working absolute wonders on my suit. And now I've got a seam line hiding on a web line, so I don't even got to worry about that seam. Jeez, sorry, I'm tired trying to do this voiceover. But the back, you're basically just tracing on the front and then just drawing a straight line at the top of the belt and at the bottom of the belt. And that should be the back. And I'm just looking at pictures on the comic book for reference, trying to figure out if that's how high or how low the top and the belt are supposed to be. And yeah, so now I'm just drawing on those web lines, and just really trying to make sure that they connect, because the back like little angled line is going to line up differently than the front one, so it's not going to be the exact same. If you see that little angle line that comes down from the back into the arm and it's the same one that comes from the armpit down to the ab area. It's just going to be like a little bit higher on the back and then a little bit lower on the front, so it's not the same. If you see what I'm saying, you can tell here it's like that little angle piece isn't the same. And I'm just looking at pattern pieces online to trying to figure out the glove situation, which what ends up what you're gonna have to do is you cut out one hand and you tape that onto the arm, and then the other hand is just separate and you sew that one on. For the boot, basically I traced out a sock. I tried to just like over meticulously like design a little pattern here, and it really doesn't work. And then I go, why don't I just cut up a sock, trace that on there, and that should work. And it ends up working. But as you can see here, I'm just really stumped just trying to figure it out, really looking at stuff, and then I just go, let's cut up a sock, trace that on there, and then I taped it up to see if it would work. It ended up working. And here I'm trying to make a mask pattern, which it really does not end up working. I try like a bunch of different methods because I'm really trying to get a perfect mask pattern. I end up really ultimately just calling it a night, and then deciding in the morning I'll have some clarity, be able to figure out that mask pattern, which is exactly what happened. I did end up with some clarity in the morning, able to finish that mask pattern. But here I tried a couple of different techniques. I get the styrofoam head, try and draw on a pattern, which in theory would have worked, but it really didn't. So I tried that multiple times, wasting entire rolls of tape on this, and it's really just not working at all. And I'm also cutting into Mr. Foamhead over here, which is not very good. And I try to draw out that pattern, and it really just does not work at all. And so I'm here still trying to look at it, figure stuff out, and then I decide, why don't I just trace a pattern online and modify that. So that's what I did. I traced an MCU like Spider-Man mask, Homecoming mask from the internet, and then I just basically saw that was too small and just tried to make it bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until it finally would fit my head. And once that happened, yeah, the mask pattern was made. And so here I'm making the neck. As you can see, it's already sewn, but I had to make a different neck. And so what I'm doing here is I've got the pieces sewn, and then I'm placing it on my old Spider-Man suit and just tracing out the neck. Which what you can do is you can just trace out a neck piece, as you can see here, with like a turtleneck type shirt, basically. And that could work. And then I'm just making sure that they're on like web lines, like because the web lines go straight up through the neck. So I just pick random web lines for those pieces to be. And here I'm doing trial and error with the mask pattern here. Basically, I'm going to tape it together, see if it fits. And now I'm putting it on some test fabric so I can try and get that mask pattern correct. And what you're going to want to do with this, since it's trial and error, is you cut that out, and then you're going to want to, it's going to be too big at first, but you're going to sew that all the way through. And then just keep sewing it and keep sewing it until it finally fits you. And then, until it finally fits you, and then just cut along all the seams and basically trace that onto paper, make a new pattern, cut that out of fabric, sew that up, and then once you make sure that that fits properly, then you can use that new pattern to sew onto your actual fabric, just because we don't want to be wasting fabric and stuff. So just make sure you have some test fabric or just some extra like fabric that you bought. And for the suit, I recommend buying 2 yards of each fabric, just to make sure that you have leeway for mistakes. And that's like the perfect amount for one suit, with minimal mistakes. With 0 mistakes, that's the perfect amount for 2 suits, if you're really meticulous and good about it. But I would recommend just 2 yards of each fabric for one suit, because you're going to make mistakes. Yeah, I thought it wasn't going to happen with a suit that I tried a little bit ago, like last year around this time, and it really didn't work, and I had to scrap the whole thing because I didn't have enough fabric. I was able to trace out all the pattern pieces, get some of them sewn up, but then when it didn't fit, there was nothing I could do about it. So really make sure you have 2 yards blue, 2 yards red, is what I recommend and what should be used for this. And here you can see I'm just sewing that with a straight stitch, because you don't want to be wasting time trying to worry about a zigzag stitch when it's just test fabric, and this fabric really wasn't as stretchy, and so I could use that and it wouldn't pop. So I finally got that to fit, and now I'm cutting it out like I said before, just so we can use that as a patterning piece. And be really good about this and choose one side of the seam to cut out, and then so that it'll be uniform all around the entire mask, if you know what I mean. So yeah, now I'm cutting that out still, and I have that placed down, and it's not going to come out symmetrical. So what you're going to want to do is slice the thing in half, essentially, on your paper, and then just trace it over so that it's completely symmetrical, because we want this to be symmetrical. And your pattern is going to look really goofy. That's okay. We're going to just trace that onto some more test fabric, and I didn't have enough, so I had to like chop it on the side, trace out the other piece, and then sew that through, which is fine. That can be done as well. But yeah, so now I'm finally able to trace onto my actual fabric, which took a long time to finally get to this point. But yeah, now once you have your entire pattern made, you should be able to just go ahead and trace onto the fabric like so. I'd recommend using a permanent marker or a I really would recommend using like chalk, like fabric chalk. But my only concern about that is you have to rub water on it to get it off, and that's kind of a problem. I honestly thought it would just rub away, but it is a better alternative than marker. But really just use something that'll show up on the fabric. I know if I'm using black fabric, I can use literally a white colored pencil and it's fine. But just something that will make it show up. And then make sure you're tracing, like, for pieces that need to be like if you're tracing the arms, make sure to trace the right arm, left arm. And then when you're cutting that out, make sure you have some sharp fabric scissors, and then just make sure not to lose any pieces so you don't have to, go and cut them again, because that is what I had to do. And so that was a problem. And then when cutting the fingers, I'd say just go down straight through to the little crack at the bottom of the finger, and then just like do that on all of the fingers, and then go out and cut the top edges of those. Yeah, that's what I'd recommend for that. And yeah, really it's just really it's very straightforward, just cutting fabric. And yeah, I'll catch you guys in the outro. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the pattern making process. Next week I'll be probably uploading something about probably the sewing. I'll probably be uploading parts of the sewing. I think I might do it in parts, like how to sew special zippers and stuff, and how to sew like certain parts of the suit. But don't quote me on that. It might just be one big video. I don't know. Probably gonna be the same format as this, just voiceover and stuff. And then we'll have a 3D printing like face shell video. That's printed, but it still needs to be finished and painted and lenses and all that. But yeah, make sure to subscribe down below, turn on post notifications, comment down below, whatever, just comment, and make sure to like the video. So yeah, thanks for watching.